My phone starts ringing and I pick it up and it says, I don't have the number saved, and it just says Los Angeles. And I'm like, who's calling me from Los Angeles?
Do I call LA? Do they call me?
At this hour at 9 o'clock. And so I didn't know who it was, but my instinct said, pick it up.
Yeah.
So I picked it up, and it was a producer for The Bachelor.
Whenever it's someone from LA,
you pick it up, right?
Could be Kim K. You never know.
Right. I'm about to be on the biggest reality dating show in the country.
Ever, yeah.
It was pretty wild.
What's up, Morgie?
What's up, Austie?
If you're looking at me right now and you're like, he does not know how to wear headphones, it's because if I wear them like this, then I talk unbelievably loud.
That's why everybody's looking at us right now, right? They're like, shut up, Austin.
I know. Our photographer, Tim Coffey, he's the loudest person in the world, but claims that I'm the loudest person in the world.
Takes one to know one.
It takes one to know one. Absolutely. I just don't want to be sitting here popping everything out and screaming and the whole deal. But what's going on? Thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. So for those of you who don't know, I'm going to introduce my buddy. This is Morgan Wright. She works at locally here on Q104 on the Q morning
show, baby.
The Q. I should be your announcer on the Q morning show.
Go for it.
And with Morgan and Bill.
We're not in the market for a new announcer, but okay. I mean, I think you would have a fair shot.
It would be part of my charity work. Also, she is more famous, I think. It probably has more listeners, more followers on TikTok and Instagram and the whole podcast universe. Your TikTok has blown up. You have 100. I saw it today. You have 184.1 thousand followers.
Very
You're almost
specific.
to 185.
Very specific. Yes.
I think this is going to at least put you probably not to 185, but maybe to 184.2.
Okay,
How about that? And then huge on IG as well with 120,000 followers. The queen of all things reality TV, specifically Bravo. Morgie absolutely kills it. Also podcasts as well. Morgan's Pop Talk. How'd you come up with that name?
Honestly, because the Instagram and the TikTok is Morgan P Talks because my middle name is Paige. And so I was just thinking, MPT is the abbreviation for the pages, and I wanted to keep the brand. I mean, I'm a radio girl, so branding is important. I know the significance of that. I wanted it to be easy for people to remember.
Sure.
So it's MPT on Instagram. It's MPT the podcast, but this time it's Morgan's Pop Talks.
MPT, yeah, you know me.
And the good news is that I'm getting married in actually a week.
Dude, so full disclosure, Morgan and I are pretty good friends. She was one of the first friends I ever met in Cleveland. And then, we just happened to be in the same business and we've just become good friends throughout. I mean, we've been friends since 2018.
Yeah.
And when she called me there, I called her. I was like, can you come on my podcast? And she's like, yeah, what do you want to do? And I was like, I threw out a date. She's like, well, I'm getting married that day. And I was like, oh, I thought you were getting married in June, but you're eloping essentially.
Yeah, minor detail. Well, my fiance is South African.
Yeah. Crazy story.
Crazy story. I don't know if we have the time to talk about it today, but
I don't want the full details, but I do want some details. Shine a little color.
We met 12 years ago. In West Virginia. My family had moved down there while I was in high school. He was on an athetic scholarship playing soccer. I was a senior getting ready to graduate and go off to college.
Were you a jersey chaser traditionally?
A cleat chaser? Oh, 1,000%.
You were a jersey chaser?
Oh yeah.
Is that why you're also a cheerleader at Marshall?
Yes, definitely. I've only ever dated soccer players. It is what it is. But anyways, so my older sister met him first just through a group of friends, and she said to him, you would like my little sister. I think you guys would get along.
Was he hitting on her, and was she putting him off on you?
No, I think actually her best friend was dating David's roommate at the time. So they were always just kind of hanging out, college culture, you're hanging in the dorms, whatever. But yeah, we met. We dated for a brief time then. I was 18. He was 20. He was going back to South Africa. I was going to college. It just was not the time to start a cross-continental relationship. To make a really long story short.
I mean, back in the day, it was like if you lived 15 minutes away, you were like, I remember girls that lived on the other side of campus. I'm like, that's a different zip code.
I mean, we had to Skype.
Yeah.
We didn't have FaceTime.
Man, talk about dropping the ball in the fourth quarter. Right when everything came into Skype, everyone was like, no, we're going to do Zoom. And then Zoom became huge. Anyway, sorry. You were Skyping.
It's okay. Yeah, where was I? Okay, so when he lived in South Africa for a little bit, but he's also half British.
Yeah.
His dad is British, so he has dual citizenship there. So he moved to London, and then shortly after, he asked if he could come visit me and my family for Christmas one year. I think it was 2016.
Very forward.
And I was like, yeah, sure, because my family really took him in when we were in West Virginia. My mom loves to mother everybody. She's just like, I will cook for you, I will do your laundry, whatever. So I was like, yeah, of course. And everyone was like, you guys are going to fall back in love. And I was 25 at the time. I was like, no, I was 18. I'm a different person. And literally I go to pick him up at the airport here in Cleveland. And I see him coming down the escalator. And I was like, uh-oh. Yeah. I just knew.
Just melted immediately.
It literally was like we hadn't seen each other in 7 years. And it was like, it was weird.
It was immediately.
Immediately. And it was something that we both kind of knew and felt. So we've been together ever since, actually going on almost 6 years. We've been going through the immigration process, which has been crazy. But yeah, the reason why I was getting married on that date is because as soon as David got his K-1 visa approved, once he comes into the States, we only have 90 days to get married. So it's like, we have to do
90-day fiance.
Exactly. We have to do it as soon as possible. So he got here October 1st. We are getting legally married on October 20th. And I know the story started by talking about our Instagram, Morgan P Talks, because Paige, but now my last name is going to be Preston. So it's just,
man, we're just staying on brand all over the place. That was like a 10% reason why you're like, well, your last name starts with P. I
wouldn't have to change any of my branding for you.
Yeah, but having known a little bit about the inside, what was it like to go through the pandemic with, because Al and I are now married, but we had just started dating during the pandemic. I lived in Westlake, she was in Tremont, and we were like, you're so far. Yeah. You were talking about, we're talking about an ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, in between distance with you guys, and lockdowns
travel
and shutdowns
bans.
And travel bans, the whole deal.
So we went 8 months without seeing each other twice.
Sheesh.
So I was actually supposed to fly to London on it was 3 days after they announced the lockdown. And, at that time, we really did not know what we were about to get into.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, well, by
we were at a party together. We were like, oh, this is going to be a fun 2 weeks. I'll sit and eat string cheese all day.
It was around St. Patrick's Day, and I was supposed to leave a couple days later. And, I was walking into that party and got the notification, international travel ban. So I was in a bad mood coming into this St. Patrick's Day party. But thankfully,
nothing that a few Guinness can't cure.
I was with my friends. But, we just had no idea what we were gearing up for. And I remember I would constantly tell myself, by this date, it'll be fine. By May, by David's birthday, it'll be fine. Oh, it's not. By summer, it'll be fine.
And then at some points it got worse.
Yeah. And so I think while it was difficult, I just knew it had to end sometime, and it's am I going to, I know this is the love of my life. Am I going to let this situation that has to end eventually, derail something that is one of the most important things to me. And I think that's kind of how he felt too, that we just weren't going to let this situation ruin our relationship. And of course it was hard. I think it's a weird way to look back at it, because the days just
because now it's 2020, you're looking back, but at the time, there was a lot of muddy water, and I'm sure things were tested and now you're stronger for it. But at the time you didn't know what was going to happen. Yeah.
And I mean, the days kind of just ran together and it was all just such a blur. And I think in a way that helped, because sometimes it's harder in a long distance relationship that long when you actually know the day that you're going to go see them, because you're counting down the seconds, the hours, the days. But when you're kind of wandering around aimlessly, we don't know what is going to happen. In that aspect, it was easier, but obviously just a very emotional time for everybody, very difficult time for everybody. But like I said, we made it through. We did do 8 months twice. I was able to go see him in September. He was not able to come back into the United States until, close to the following summer. But we're here. We made it.
Love it. Yeah. And so, what are you guys doing for the eloption?
Elopement.
I like eloption. I'm gonna stick with that. The elopement.
Yeah.
God, I suck, man. Clearly, I never eloped. I could never handle it. I can't even pronounce it.
Well, thankfully for me, my dad is in the business of performing marriages as a pastor, so I didn't really have to look far to find
look at you.
an officiant. And we also,
but you also did have a backup because I'm an officiant. I was like, well, your dad, me. I totally forgot that your dad was a pastor at one point, and I was like, Morgan, I'm an officiant. She's like, that's great. I'll keep that in consideration. But also my dad.
Father, like half of my DNA. But our family also does annual family vacations to Florida.
Okay.
So I thought even though we only have 90 days and it's so restricted and there's a lot of red tape around it, I still wanted to make the moment special. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to just, and we thought about this and not just go into a courthouse and sign the paper and be done. No shade to anybody who's done that, because looking back at it,
make it a little bigger.
Yeah, looking back at it, I honestly think we should have done that. It's a whole complicated story, but anyways.
Well, because now it's expensive and now it's complicated.
And now we have marriage license things and all the things. But I think just going someplace that means something to my family, close, intimate, just my immediate family is going to be here. Obviously his family is still in South Africa, so they weren't able, but when we have our actual wedding, the whole shebang next summer, everyone will be there. But we wanted to just make it special. So a little trip out of Ohio, go to the beach, have a day.
Get out of here, man.
Have a day.
Go get married, you two crazy kids. My goodness. All right. So, something that was, where you talked about, the harsh things that you had to deal with your relationship during, the pandemic, the whole panty, the whole things like that. But one thing that did bud out of that is your TikTok career.
Yeah.
Which, I was able to get kind of a first row seat into watching. I think I was one of your first followers.
You probably were.
Legitimately, because we were talking about, have you downloaded this TikTok thing?
Right.
And then I also, it's still one of my favorite TikToks to date.
Mine?
Yeah.
Really?
Your first one. One of your first ones. The squatty potty.
The squatty potty.
Is that still up there? Did you delete that?
It's still up there.
It's still
you
up there?
just have to go way back. Oh, yeah. I don't delete. I keep it up there. I stand by what I post.
I think there was a moment where people were trying to figure out TikTok at the time and how can I get my voice out there? And then you finally did find a voice, but now it's easy, again, looking back on what you're able to do. But was there a moment of anxiety, trying, because for me, it's when I post something on social media that's outside of work, I guess, or pictures of my dog, I get maybe some anxiety a little bit. Was there kind of that when you were first starting, or how did you kind of first start wanting to get into it?
Honestly, not really when I first started, but I feel now I kind of start to feel that way.
Why?
I will say, working on a morning show, I'm very used to sharing every detail about my life because that's the job, so, and that's actually how I got started, doing TikTok during the pandemic. On the morning show, I do all the pop culture news and stuff. Yeah. It's something that I've always enjoyed. I'm just a lighthearted person. So, I went to school to...
You're super happy. Come on.
I went to school to do broadcast journalism, and no offense to you, but I just could not do hard news. My brain can't handle it. Sometimes my heart can't handle it.
I was at Great Lakes today with... their Christmas sale. I don't know if I would consider that hard news, but
yeah, true. But sometimes you have to go out there. But yeah, it was really just a way to pass the time.
Sure.
And back then I was like, oh, I'm just uploading to social media in my apartment by yourself. Nobody sees these. Yeah. But it's only been in the past.
That's a rookie mistake.
It's the past couple of years, specifically the past couple of months, where I'm no, people actually do see these. Yeah. And so I think that's why now, when the following grows, I actually do have a little bit more anxiety because as your following grows, you're also subject to more opinions and opinionated people, and that's okay. I've built a following around having opinions. I think I'm a recovering people pleaser, though. Sure. I never like to be, when you get into the pop culture space, it's easy to be super judgmental and sometimes mean for the sake of engagement, but I just never wanted to approach it like that. So I think sometimes when I'm sharing things about my life or even sharing things an opinion I have on pop culture and I get somebody who has a differing opinion, it does give me a little bit more anxiety than it did in the beginning. Does that make sense?
I get that.
Yeah.
It also, too, is that it already is kind of like pop culture already is like a reality TV, specifically, is kind of already a toxic environment, you know, and then you're commenting on the already toxic environment, and then it's kind of steamrolling. But, you know, I don't really have to deal with things like, here's the story, these are the facts, you know, some people are like, you have stupid hair. But how have you learned to deal with it? Because I'm sure at first it's jarring. And especially when people become personal about it too. How have you been able to manage that and go through that?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I just always tell myself, if somebody is, I will never, even if I disagree with you about anything, something as stupid as reality TV, I will never be the person to go in your DMs and send you like hate messages. It's just not like, and I think, like, who is doing that? So when people do it to me, whether it's in my comment section or in the DMs, I just have to remind myself, this is not a reflection on me. It's a reflection on them. And, you know, like I said, if you're taking time out of your day to write a hateful message to somebody, it says way more about you than it does about me. So I try to keep that. And also just like in reporting on things, and I actually think this is why some people follow my page, is because I do look at it from an entertainment value standpoint, you know, where it's like people that are on reality TV a lot of time get subjected to a lot of harsh criticism because, you know, you're judging their reality. While yes, it is their reality, it's also a show.
It's also a show.
And, you know, a producer has to make the most interesting show possible. So they're definitely going to take things out of context. They're going to dub things in. They're going to do all of these things to make a show, you know, more drama filled for the viewer, more interesting to watch. So that's kind of how I approach it too, where yes, I comment on all these things and I have these opinions, but I remember at the end of the day, they're a human being whose job is to be on a reality show, and that comes with pros and cons. I try not to add too much to the con list, you know, of that particular reality personality.
But it's definitely a balance too. You know, and you also have relationships with, I won't have you disclose them, but with people that are on these shows. And then now you've gotten so big that people are coming to you of saying like, hey, do you want the lowdown on that one? You know, and then you go out and kind of do the report on it. But I'm sure it's hard balancing reality, TV, those are separate.
Right.
The person on that show, and then also the human that's coming to talk to you and trying to be subjective about it. Right.
I feel like a lot of the feedback that I get is that I will always try to put myself in that person's shoes, or explain both sides of the argument, you know, because it's like, that's what reality TV is made up of, a bunch of arguments, you know? So it's like, sometimes I see this side 70% and this side 30%, but that doesn't mean that one person is completely right and one person is completely wrong. So, and honestly, it's my media background that makes me do that, because I know I can't.
Your journalistic integrity.
Broadcast journalism major coming through.
Man, you're killing it. So when did you know, what were you like, you know, I met you in your 20s. What were you like as a kid?
What was I like as a kid?
Did you love pop culture back then?
I was a drama queen for sure.
Oh, for sure.
I wanted to be like an actress, singer, you know, all those things.
I want my name to be in lights, baby.
Growing up in church, I was in every Christmas play. I was in every choir. My mom made me do everything. She never let me quit anything. So
What did you want to quit?
I was really terrible at softball. I wasn't allowed to quit.
Shocking.
Yeah, I know, right? All of the actual
so athletic.
All the sports, but even like, I remember, this is so bad. My mom, if she listens to this, she's going to be upset. But I remember like,
sorry, Mrs. Wright.
I was a teenager and I was supposed to like sing at church one morning. And I woke up and I was like, Mom, I'm really sick. And I was like, I don't feel good at all. And she was like, well, you can deal with that in 3 hours because we're going to church and you're going to sing. And I mean, she thought I was faking.
Sure,
Everyone faked being sick when they were a kid every once in a while.
100%.
But she was like, nope, you're going to go. And I was like, okay, like I really don't feel good. But anyway, so I sang at church, and like as soon as I got home, I ran and got like physically sick in the bathroom. And she was like, oh, I didn't realize you were sick. I was like, I told you that I was.
I was hoping you were going to say you puked on stage.
No, not on stage, but very soon after. So I think that also just like has been instilled in me as a child, like to really finish things through. And it is like the grind culture, you know what I mean? Like you got to do. But since the pandemic, I've been learning that that's not healthy, and you have to prioritize, you know, yourself and taking care of yourself and all the things. But yeah, as a kid, I was a ham. Do you remember the movie It Takes Two? With the Olsen twins?
Yes, I've never, I don't think I've seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
There's one particular scene in the movie where...
I was not the demo for that.
Where she like gets up in the middle of I think it's like in a restaurant or something. She like puts her hand on her head and she's like, oh, and she faints. I saw that on the movie, and I did it everywhere I went. Like I did it at the grocery store, restaurants, like at church. So I was always into entertaining and being entertaining to other people.
And just way overselling things.
In today's day and age, you would not be able to do that. But back in the day, I was just passing out all over the place.
Just dying. Getting the concussion protocol left and right. So, you went to high school in West Virginia, and then you went to Marshall. When was it that you like knew that you want to kind of go the journalistic route, go into that aspect of it? Because from what I know, you want to be the next Kelly Ripa, right? Kelly Rip?
Sure, yeah. Honestly, like going into college, I really didn't know.
Same.
And I feel like that's a misconception, you know, like when you're going into your freshman year, you're supposed to know exactly what you want to do, and you're supposed to go for it full speed ahead. I really didn't know that.
But especially when you want to be in a creative aspect too. Yeah. Like it's a little different.
Yeah. And so, you know, I signed up to be a journalism major, hoping that I would like it, you know, hoping that that would be what I wanted to do. You know, like I said, my whole life, I kind of have been extroverted, and whether it was going to be like PR or marketing, I knew I wanted to be in like a creative space. And I did study particularly TV news all the way up until my senior year. In my senior year, we were pretty much working at a news station full time, you know, shooting our own packages, editing. I
didn't realize that you were so engulfed in like.
Yeah, I was.
Wow.
Yeah, I was an MMJ, brother.
Look
what do you know about
that? You even know the MMJ, multimedia journal. It basically means
you do everything by yourself.
You do everything by yourself, and that small market television is so cheap, and it's amazing that it comes together every day. It's like absurd.
Yeah. But actually, I mean, I know it sounds terrible, but it was kind of my senior year in that experience where I realized that I didn't want to, you know, be in hard news. And it's hard though, because when you want to be in entertainment, the available jobs are very few and far between.
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of take whatever you can get, but specifically radio, like I never knew that I wanted to be in radio.
Yeah.
What happened was my final semester while I was in school, I forgot that I needed an internship to graduate. Slipped my mind.
Especially in media. It's like huge.
So randomly on a whim, I got hired as an intern on a local morning show.
Oh, sweet.
And it really was just to check that box. Like I had never thought about working in radio. Yeah. And so I caught the bug. I mean, the radio bug is so easy to catch because it is so fun. It is always different. You know, we try to get people to feel better about, you know, whatever is going on in the world or in your life. So it's always kind of an uplifting atmosphere. And then slowly I worked my way up, you know, to being on the morning show at Q. And I started at the bottom. Like I was on the promotions team doing, you know, the street events, setting up those big tents by myself, giving away, you know, free stuff.
Especially with a journalism degree.
Yeah, that's where I started. And, you know, from there kind of crawled my way up, whether it was the night shift or overnight production or, you know, a midday show here. And then I got to be the producer on the morning show and then eventually became the co-host.
Look at you.
I've done it all.
You have
I've done it all. And it's like in the moment when you're young in your career, you're like, ugh, why do I have to do this? This sucks, you know. But now looking back on it, I'm so grateful because it's made me a well-rounded.
Absolutely.
I can, anything you put in front of me at my job, I can do it. And I don't need somebody else to show me how to do it. So I'm grateful for it.
Being, and same boat with me as well. And for most things, it's like, I'm so glad that I didn't go straight, because I remember coming out of college and being like, I'm going to be on the Today Show.
Yeah. And at least an intern.
Yeah, for sure. Like totally going to intern there. But then I got like this internship in Rockford where I was like, this sucks. You know, I'm in my hometown. My mom got me the internship. You know, and it's just like so unglamorous, but you kind of realize, and you go through, like, that grind makes you appreciate the big wins even more, and like kind of where you are even more. And I need to reflect more on kind of what it's taken.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard, like in the day to day, to remember back to where you were 10 years ago. Yeah. But sometimes you got to do it.
Sometimes you got to do it. What was like the happiest, even if you weren't the most successful in your career, but like the moment of like being in the career where like you were like very like loving it, super passionate?
I would honestly
not saying you're not passionate or happy now, just like there's a different feeling, you know, when you're, especially in your 20s and coming out of school.
Yeah, I would say the happiest was probably when I first started on the morning show.
Sure.
Because, you know,
because you'd gotten there.
Yeah.
You want to be on it. You want to be on air.
Yeah. And also I was hired as a producer, but, you know, I made it very clear that my long-term goal was to be on air.
And a ransom note? Is that what you wrote?
Yeah, a little bit. But no, I think, you know, I made my career goals clear, and I'm super glad that they allowed me the space to grow that, you know, because I hadn't been on a morning show before, but they saw talent in me enough to let me pop in here and there when it wasn't an on-air position, you know. It was supposed to be answering the phones, chopping up the audio, you know, doing all the giveaways and stuff. So I'm just glad that the people in that moment saw the talent in me to let me, you know, hone in on my skills. But honestly, I know you said besides now, but like the real answer is now, you know, now that I'm 30 and I feel like your 20s, when you graduate from college, your 20s are kind of like glamorized, you know, oh, you're out into the real world, you're doing this on your own and good for you. And it's not like that at all. You know, I lived at home until I was 25. I really struggled to like, it was a slow grind. Like you said, I didn't wake up and was on the Today Show. It took me time to, you know, get to the salary that I wanted and to be able to pay all my bills on my own, you know, like it took some time to get there. And I feel like now things seem to be falling into place a little bit easier. And you don't have all that added stress that I had in my 20s, at least.
Sure. I'm sure anyone that's like going to listen to this and be like, that's older is going to kind of roll their eyes, but I love being 30.
Yeah, like, I do too.
And I'm 31. Like, I feel like I'm more established. And there's something about saying like 30 instead or 31 instead of like, I'm 27.
I'm 27, yeah. I'm an adult.
Yeah, I'm an adult, dude. I remember when I was like 17 being like, I'm an adult.
I know everything. Yeah.
What's up? And now I look at a 17-year-old, I'm like, you're an idiot.
Yeah, literally. Even 3 years ago, I was like, I was an idiot. Like 26 years.
It's like, who do I think I was talking to that person like that?
And probably in 5 years' time, we'll do the same thing. We'll be
for sure.
What an idiot we were at age 30.
I'm going to look back at this podcast and when I'm 40, if it's still on the Ethernet or whatever, and be like, who did we think we were? Who do you think cared about that? My goodness. But people, you know, love listening to you. I love listening to you. Tell me about give me a little insight into radio and what your day looks like. I know we're early morning warriors, you know, coming in early and trying to get something snappy together.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
It is so hard.
Are you a caffeine drinker?
Oh.
Okay, for sure. There's some people, like Dave isn't a caffeine drinker.
I could not.
Like, you're a nut job.
I would not be able to do my job without caffeine. I would like prefer an IV. I know that's not possible, but like at least 3 cups a day. Honestly, the hours are the hardest part for me. I am not a morning person.
Yeah.
So fake it till you make it applies to me until about 7 a.m. when I actually am up. But yeah, my job on the show is to do the pop culture report. support. So, movies, TV, whatever, which is how I kind of got this side brand going during the pandemic. But also, our job, we're a local radio show in Cleveland, so we want to reflect what's going on in the community. We know that a lot of our listeners are women, so we want to reflect what they're going through. I think what I love most about radio, and it's something that you do have experience with it as well, but when I compare it to doing a podcast or something, there's just so much more interaction with your listeners. Where, throughout the entire morning, our goal is to talk to our listeners constantly. We're picking up the phones. We're asking for their opinions. We're asking what's going on in their life. We're asking, what do you care about right now? Whereas other mediums, like a podcast, you have what you want to talk about, and you might talk to one other person, but it's just different in that aspect. So I feel like it's maybe not easier, but it feels like you build a pretty solid community because you are talking to so many people within, 4 hours in the morning.
And there's a difference and a difference when you're shooting something like this, or I'm shooting something, the live aspect. Yeah. I love the live aspect. Yeah. If I could do everything live, I'm living life, but everything, so we'll shoot a whole show. I've done my spiel, I've done my stand-ups, or I've done my report 3 or 4 times. And then they're like, can you tape something for us? And I'm like, oh boy, there's more pressure when it's taped, I feel like, because there shouldn't be as much pressure. Right.
Honestly, it's funny because you've been in our studio before. It's like a small room. Yeah. There's no windows outside. There's one window where we can see into the Halley building. But the only person I see is my co-host, Bill. So in my mind...
And sometimes there's a monitor in front of you.
Yeah, too. Sometimes there's a monitor, so I can't even see him. So it's in my mind, I forget that people are listening to me in real time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I'll start to go on a tangent about something, and then we'll go off the air and I'll be like, did I just say that for multiple people to hear? It's one of those things. And then I'll have people come up to me, whether it be at church or anywhere else that I'm at, and they'll be like, oh, that cracked me up when you said that. And I was like, you heard that? I forget. It's kind of the same thing as social media, where I'm making these videos from my office, not really realizing the significance of how many people are watching and or listening.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I hated about the pandemic, because when you're doing TV or whatever with this job, you drive in, you see the city, and then you go into the parking deck, and you come into the studio. When I was going live from my apartment, it was literally just my phone, this dinky little microphone, and I wasn't wearing shoes half the time, and it's just all right, I go from my bed
to my couch,
15 feet, here we go, and it just didn't feel big,
Yeah, I agree, but also I loved working from home.
Yeah, did you?
I loved working from home, and maybe it's because you have to at least look presentable in your job.
I try.
I don't.
That's true.
I only see Bill.
That grimy morgue once in a while.
Yeah, so nothing really changed for me. I was going in no makeup. I was a little bit sleepier, just because I do feel like it's harder to get into work mode when you're at home. Sure. I don't know. That's just me. My fiance works from home all the time, and he has no problem with it. But yeah, some days I do miss working from home, just because that little extra sleep gave me enough energy boost to be alive at 6 a.m. as opposed to 6:45.
I sometimes will. I did it today.
You fell asleep?
Well, no, I was waking up, and then I was like, I'm going to set my alarm for 2 minutes. Yeah. I set it for 2 minutes, and in my sleeper state, I'm like, this makes sense. This is going to make the difference today.
And then you wake up all startled.
Yeah. Well, I accidentally slept in through a show earlier this week. Or
no,
2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
See, that's something I've never done. My anxiety, even though I know that waking up that early is really difficult for me, I will never be able to sleep through it, because my anxiety will wake me up.
I typically do. Typically my anxiety is Allison kicking me.
Yeah.
And she fell asleep on the couch. And I'm not blaming her.
Have the kicker.
But I sleep like a dead man, legitimately coma. Allison has to shake me awake sometimes. And I woke up And I was like,
yeah, that startled.
Like, I am getting a scary amount of sleep right now. It's very suspect. And I woke up at 6:30 and I called my boss and I'm like, I am so sorry.
How do they react when that happens? Are they cool?
I've only done it one time.
Okay.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
If it happens, and she's like, honestly, I'm surprised like this doesn't happen more to people. And I'm like, thank you for being very cool about that. There's water over there too. If you want.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. This
Pine Spring water?
No, it's a Crystal Geyser. The official water bottle.
Well, it also does say Pine Spring water.
Okay, pal. Okay.
I was reading the byline.
It full disclosure. It's okay water.
Okay.
It has like a little bit of a hint of Cuyahoga River water.
Nailed it. Oh, nailed it. Yeah,
Like,
that aftertaste.
Like it's like just like something to wet your whistle, you know.
I didn't deserve the Dasani this morning.
Well, I went in and I was like, oh, maybe I'll go buy like some Smart Waters over here. We were out.
It's fine.
So it was
it's
either
fine.
that or like a Red Bull, and I didn't want to get you too hyped up.
It's
or
all
something
good.
like that. So what you've been able to do? When did you kind of with your TikTok? Kind of going back to that. Now you've kind of made a nice like. I don't know, career, but side hustle at least. Like I would say career.
Yeah.
You know, in doing TikTok. What's one of those moments where you've been doing it where you've had kind of had a pinch me moment?
Oh, well, one recently.
Or multiple.
Yeah. I think anytime that I would get feedback from the person I was talking about, it was always kind of weird. You know, like
good feedback or bad feedback?
Yeah, I mean, it's been both, you know, it has been both. Like when I see a blue check mark in my DMs, I'm always like, oh, wow, there it is.
Yep.
But I would say a pinch me moment would probably be even recently. One of the New York housewives, her name is Luann. She had been on the show for 14 years. They rebooted Roni, so she's no longer on it, but she is on a spinoff. And
Roni?
Real Housewives of New York. Come on, get with the slang,
Roni,
Austin.
yeah, come on, Austin, come on.
Anyways.
Jabroni, I'm a jabroni.
She's doing a spinoff in a girls' trip, but she also loves to do cabaret. Like, it's her thing. And she knows she's not the best at it, but it's just like a shtick, it's her shtick.
Sure,
she loves to do it. She's
going out there and doing it.
She's a great performer. So it was actually like 2 weeks ago, I got to interview her at her cabaret show at MGM on stage, which I was just like, what? You want me to do that? And I think it was a combination of both. We were giving away the tickets on the morning show because I'm a big Luann fan.
Yeah.
Also, I told the promoter, I'm a huge Bravo girl. Like, check out my Instagram. If you need anything, let me know. So they were like, yeah, we would like you to host the audience Q&A. So you know how like there'll be somebody running around with a microphone and be like, this is so-and-so from, you know, whatever. So at first it was just that. And then like a day before the show, they emailed me and they were like, we're changing the format. We want to do like a sit down Q&A. And would you like to host it? And I was like, you mean like on stage?
Oh my God.
Like next to her? And he was like, yeah, it would be great. He was like, and if you know Bravo, he was like, think, Watch What Happens Live. And I was like, I'm about to be the Andy Cohen in this situation? Like, what? Me? It was so crazy.
Little Morgan?
But it was great. And
Did you pretend faint then?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
I left that about 15 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was awesome. And it was one of those things where I wasn't nervous.
Yeah.
Like, I just felt like...
Were you nervous before or anxious or like going into it?
I wasn't.
Yeah?
I was nervous to meet her, because they say don't meet your heroes because they can like disappoint you.
Yeah.
But honestly, she was great. She was super nice. She was like, ask anything you want. I will answer it. So she made me feel comfortable. And, just watching the show for so long, it's like ingrained in my brain, the Housewives history. So it felt really natural. And I think another like pinch me moment, I guess you could say, was afterwards. I did have people come up to me and say like, it was so great. Even the staff at MGM were like, we've seen people get up there and bomb, and you did really good. So I think it's just that affirmation, not saying that I need all these compliments or whatever.
But it's nice. It's better than someone being like, that was rough.
Yeah, exactly. I think because it's like, I've worked really hard to be at the place where I can confidently interview a housewife who's been on TV for 14 years, you know, and feel confident doing it. So it felt good. That was definitely one of those moments.
You're also on The Bachelor too, or
Bachelor. It was a Bachelor.
Not as a contestant.
No.
Talk us through that.
Okay, so that also happened kind of on a whim. I think it was 2019, 2018, 2019.
It was pre-pandemic for sure.
Yeah, it was pre-pandemic. Peter Weber.
Peter.
Peter. Pilot Peter. God bless him.
God bless. I think that was the last Bachelor I watched because it was in Cleveland.
Right. So they did one of their group dates in Cleveland, and you know, we get the media alerts, whatever. I kept applying to go to one of the events like as an audience member.
Yeah.
You know, because I was talking about it all the time anyways. I watched The Bachelor. I'm like, I want to be there. I kept getting denied because I was media. You know, they would ask like, what's your job, whatever, and I would have to specify. Oh. So they didn't want any spoilers.
Those rascals.
Man. I know, and I remember I was on air one morning, really just airing my grievances about that. Yeah. You know, like I was like, why? I want it. Like I shouldn't be penalized. Like I'll give them publicity, whatever. And later that day, it's like 9:00 at night, which you know.
Is late.
Yeah, for us, I'm like about to go to bed. I'm getting into bed, and my phone starts ringing, and I pick it up, and it says I don't have the number saved, and it just says Los Angeles. And I'm like, who's calling me from Los Angeles?
Do I call LA? Do they call me?
At this hour at 9:00, and so I didn't know who it was, but like you know, my instinct said pick it up.
Yeah.
So I picked it up, and it was a producer for The Bachelor.
Whenever it's someone from LA,
you pick it up, right?
Could be Kim K. You never know.
Right. So I pick it up, and it's a producer from The Bachelor. And they were like, we heard you this morning talking about wanting to come to one of the group dates. And a lot of it was going through Destination Cleveland at the time. They were kind of facilitating what to do in downtown Cleveland. And they're like, we got your information from some people at Destination Cleveland. Would you be interested in hosting one of the group dates?
Yeah.
And I was like, absolutely. When is it? Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. And I'm like, oh, okay. What do I wear? Figure it out. You know, like they were telling me like what to wear. So I like ran to TJ Maxx, tried to find
at 9
something.
o'clock?
Yeah, 9:00 at night.
I'm surprised you were still up.
I know. I mean, at that point though, my adrenaline was pumping.
Yeah.
Like, I'm about to be on the biggest reality dating show in the country.
Ever, yeah.
You know, like it was pretty wild, and I had to keep it a secret from everybody, which was difficult to do. But it was great. It was. I mean, I had no experience with reality TV.
Sure.
So it was the first time that I got to see like what went on behind the scenes. Cause you know, you see this little 5-minute package of them playing tackle football at First Energy, but it's really an all day thing, you know, like I was there from 11 a.m. until 9:00 at night. And yeah, it was an interesting experience. I met Peter. He was really nice.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was before his whole season kind of went south.
The whole thing, yeah.
But, you know, he was really nice. I have no complaints.
I remember watching you on that and being like a little professional jealous.
I got a lot of screen time.
You got a lot of screen time.
For something like pretty insignificant because, I mean, I'm a nobody to these people, right? I'm a radio host in Cleveland. They don't care about me, you know? Like, they just need somebody to sit there and to say, Hannah Ann just tackled Kelly. You know, they don't care who's doing it particularly.
It's just you and John Doss, right?
It was me and John Doss, yeah. And normally they have people like Michael Strahan or somebody of that nature. So I really thought that they would like pan to us once and that the majority of it would be voiceover, you know, because why do they need to see my face? But they saw my face a lot. I feel like I was on screen a lot. I was like, wow, I was afraid it was going to get cut.
I think I'm going to be the new host of this show.
I honestly was fearful that it was going to get cut because
I'm like stuck back
Are
there.
you okay?
Sorry, I'm good.
You got it?
It's my first time doing
because
anything.
you know they say in the contract like we're not required to air this, so let the chips fall where they may. And you know, we were there with two Browns players who like coached them through the group date. I can't remember. I believe one was Josh Cribbs, maybe. I
think it was.
We'll have to roll the tapes. But, you know, I was like, they would spend way more time focusing on actual famous people. But it's like Josh Cribbs was on the screen for like 0.5 seconds. Yeah. But they kept panning to me and John. I'm like, whatever. And, you know, John is much more knowledgeable about football than I was.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Get out of town.
You wouldn't believe, right? And actually, it is funny. I'll give you some like BTS. They told John, they were like, you stick to all the football. Morgan, we want you to not make fun, but like poke fun.
You were the color analyst.
Yeah. You know, like, oh, Hannah and Kelly, they have beef. Like, how's it going to go down on the football field? Like, that type of content, they didn't use any of it. So, like, I did technically get my part cut. But, I mean, my face was on there.
Technically, you were cut.
Right. I did do the touchdown, which is an official GIF.
Yep.
So, you can search that. So, yeah, it was all in all a positive experience.
Yeah. I said professionally jealous, but I was also very happy for you.
Oh, well, thanks, Austin. I would have been professionally jealous of you, too, but personally happy. So it's fine.
Yeah, for sure. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, because we want things like, speaking of, wanting bigger career, things like that. I mean, what is like the dream, not just the dream.
Okay.
But like the embarrassing dream that you kind of like don't want to tell people.
The embarrassing dream.
Of like what you want to do, what do you want to accomplish. Because like my embarrassing dream would be like, I want to be Ryan Seacrest. It's like, I'm never going to be Ryan Seacrest. Come on.
You don't know that.
When the Wheel of Fortune job came up.
You applied?
No, I didn't. There was no application. I looked.
You tried to apply?
But I texted it to my agent, like half joking. I was like,
by the way,
hey,
I know a guy.
All he sent back was, ha ha.
He knew.
It's like, thanks for having so much faith in me, man.
That your dreams are going to be crushed.
It's okay.
Honestly, so you're asking me, like, where do you want to be in 10 years? Kind of.
No, that's a stupid question. I don't like that question.
I don't like it either.
Because I'm saying I want to be happy in 10 years.
Yeah.
No, but like, what's like something that you're embarrassed to kind of say, maybe? Like, I'm a little embarrassed to say that.
I don't know that it is embarrassing.
Okay, it's fine.
Me.
All right.
I want to, like, my big dream is to host a BravoCon panel. Because like BravoCon happens every year.
Yeah.
This year it's in Vegas. I also tried to shoot my shot and was swiftly turned down, But,
at least they got back to you, though.
Yeah, they did get back to me.
That's
and
good.
They entertained the idea for a little bit, but then they ghosted.
You're on their radar.
Yeah. But
Stay steadfast.
I think just things like that. I think being recognized in the industry, as somebody who worked hard. I have these, women in the podcast and entertainment industry that I look up to that I'm like, if I can model myself in that image, kind of, because everybody's different. But like, I love Heather McDonald. Like, she has a very successful independent podcast. She's, selling out tours. I've been trying to say
she's on the live tours.
I was trying to say tour and show both times, but neither word was coming out.
You nailed
the broadcast degree. Like live shows, I would love to do a live podcast show where people actually came to like watch it. That would be really cool.
We're kind of doing that right now, except everyone's working.
Yeah. We have like maybe 3 or 4 people in the audience.
We got a crowd, and mainly everyone has their headphones on because they're like step talking.
Yeah, I would say that, but also like my long-term goal. My fiance's family lives in South Africa.
Yeah.
And I think the pandemic kind of introduced a new way of working, with being able to do remote work. So I think my dream would be, whatever it is, in however many years, to be able to do what I love from South Africa.
I was just about, do you want to move to South Africa?
I don't want to move there, but maybe be like Ohio snowbirds there. You know how some people go to Florida? We'll just go to South Africa.
Yeah, casual.
Because they are on opposite seasons. So like their Christmas is like 95 degrees. They're barbecuing, they're jumping in the pool, that kind of thing. So
I forgot how hemispheres work.
Yeah, well, the more you know, the more you know.
Yeah.
But I just think it's doable too. I mean, I'm not in a rush because I like where I am.
Yeah.
But, I think I do have like a guilt. And I think anybody in like a long distance relationship would understand that type of guilt where it's like my fiance doesn't see his family as much as I see my family. Yeah. And even when we were talking about
David hadn't seen them in like 4 years, right? At one point.
He hadn't, yeah. We just went together this year. I went for the first time in January and it was like literally life-changing.
Yeah.
Like the best trip I've ever been on. But I want to be able to, I don't know the word. I want to say like,
be free.
Yeah, like
have freedom.
Like have us be able to look forward to that, because
Sure.
I know David has made a lot of sacrifices to move to the United States.
Yeah.
You know, the immigration process was brutal and long and stressful, and he's been through a lot. So I feel like, you know, if both of us someday get to the stage in our career where we can do what we love from anywhere in the world, I would love to be able to, you know, go spend even like a month or two at a time with
Sure.
him and his family, because it is important. So
Yeah, I mean, that is a balance. Just even if my parents live in South Bend, Indiana, you know, let alone across an
pond.
ocean and all the way down Africa.
Yeah, but it's great. I mean, if you can make it there, it is a long trek, especially because there's no direct flights from Cleveland.
What's the like 24 hours?
Yeah. It's a long time.
Yikes.
So when we went in January, we went from Cleveland to Atlanta, Atlanta to Johannesburg, Johannesburg to Durban.
What's the flight from Atlanta to
Johannesburg? 15 hours.
Woof.
Yeah, it was rough, but we picked an exit seat, you know, like we had a little extra leg room.
Yeah.
It actually wasn't that bad because we did do a red eye, so we just slept. I slept the whole time.
Sure.
I can sleep anywhere, you know?
I'm chugging a NyQuil bottle before I get
absolutely,
onto that. Just like,
absolutely.
I am passing out. I intend to be awake during maybe 4 hours of this flight. That is brutal.
That was pretty much how it worked, but then we got there and I felt well rested. I slept honestly for like 11 hours, so it wasn't terrible.
Good for you.
But it's just like the most beautiful place ever. And, you know, we went on a safari, which was like another pinch me moment, a bucket list moment. When can you ever go on an African safari? It like does not happen that often. So it was amazing.
Look at you.
I know, world traveler.
My goodness. That's something that Allison and I have both decided. Like, I really don't want to be like the travel guy.
You don't? See, we love it. We love it.
Yeah.
But also,
and more power too. I think that's fun.
Yeah, when David like lived in London, it was very easy to travel Europe. You know, so it's like there were pros and cons to being in that long distance relationship where it's like, if I'm going to be flying to London once a year, we might as well like go to Paris or go to Barcelona, or, you know, we just went to Greece because it's like
when you're there, it's cheap to get around.
Yeah, I mean, like if you try to get a ticket from Ohio to Greece, you're looking like $2,000, which is, we're not those people, you know, like we're not those people.
Once you get to 1 million followers on TikTok, then we're talking.
Maybe, but if you're in London, it's like $200, which is like way more doable. So we just took advantage of it. I always growing up wanted to see the world. I didn't know that like this is the route that I would do it. But like I said, it's those silver linings of being in a tough situation that I'm grateful for.
Love it.
Love it.
Yeah, well, we're grateful
Live,
for you,
laugh,
Morgan.
love.
Live, laugh, often love. We got a few minutes here, real quick. Who is your dream interview?
Andy Cohen.
Andy Cohen?
Obviously.
Andy.
I would feel, honestly, though, I feel like I would be not okay in that situation. Like, I would be super nervous because it's like, how do you interview someone that you view as the greatest interviewer? You know, like I watch him on Watch What Happens Live. He built this successful franchise, you know, multiple cities or whatever. He's extremely talented. So it's like, how do you interview somebody like that? But I would just love to talk to him someday.
Did they kick him off the CNN New Year's Eve?
I don't think they did, but they told him to stop drinking on it, which I think
that's the whole thing.
I know. What can you do? Maybe they'll sneak in a flask or something this year, but it was him and Anderson Cooper, who I also loved I just love their friendship. Yeah. You know, and I think that's what makes for good TV when they're on together. What was it? Didn't Andy Cohen like say something mean about Ryan Seacrest?
I think, there's like some I don't remember specifically, but so you're the pop queen. Come on.
No, you want to be Ryan Seacrest. I want to be Andy Cohen. That's a good way to put it.
I kind of want to take that back. I'd rather be Andy Cohen. He's like more unhinged.
Sorry, it's mine. I called it.
Yeah. All right. Well, good for you. What are you doing for fun these days?
Nothing.
I love it.
You know why?
Isn't that what, like, now that you're getting older, you're like, that is the worst question to be asked.
I know. Because my answer was going to be wedding planning, but it's not fun. So it's not fun. I would say what I'm doing for fun these days is not being stressed about U.S. immigration.
Yeah.
Because David and I have been going through
that. Got a whole hobby now.
For a year and a half. And now that it's like officially over, it's just a huge weight lifted.
How stressful that
Oh my
was.
gosh, it was so wild. And we just got our marriage license yesterday.
Yeah. Didn't you forget that you had to get a marriage license?
Yeah, we forgot. We had other fish to fry, like
it's like the one thing
a K1 visa,
keep you legal.
All those things, and everything we've experienced with getting the visa has been so difficult. Like, we filed our paperwork. We didn't hear anything for 13 months. Nothing. Not a we got it. Well,
really?
they did get a we got it, but don't know where you are in the line. Can't speed things up for you. Yeah, we were trying everything, but they were just sorry, it is what it is. And then, he has to have a medical exam, and then he has to have an interview at the U.S. Embassy, and all of these things, and 8 million documents.
Yeah. Oh my
They needed all my whole tax return, which is
yours?
Yeah, however many pages of it.
Through that is personal.
I know. But crazy stuff like that you wouldn't think about. So when we were going to get our marriage license, we were stressed out. We were oh, we're gonna have to do all of this stuff. What's going on? It's gonna be so complicated. We literally went in yesterday. They were okay, raise your right hand. We both raised our right hand. They said something along the lines of, do you affirm and swear that you're not second cousins or related? And we were yes.
Can confirm.
And they were okay, here's your license. So we're that's it? We were literally only in there for 3 minutes.
So when will David officially be a U.S. citizen?
Good question. Don't really know the answer.
Okay. Does he have to now go through, he can't just marry you and be a citizen, right?
The terminology of it is something that I don't know. I probably should know. He legally is allowed to live here.
Yes, once he marries you.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, even now, the 90-day period is right now, right? So he legally is allowed to live here. He's allowed to get Social Security. He's allowed to get a bank account, all those things. But once we get married, he'll have to file what's called an adjustment of status. So we kind of go through the same process that we've already been through, which is going to suck, but at least we'll be in the same place doing it. And then eventually that adjustment of status will lead to his green card.
Okay.
But it can take 2 years to get a green card.
It can take a long time. It can take even longer than that.
Yeah. So
at least he's legal.
T's and P's.
We just want to make sure that he can stay here. He's not getting shipped away or anything like that.
He's good. He's good for now.
Shout out David.
He's the best.
Love David.
Isn't he the best?
I'm glad he can now have a bank account here, because he used to not be able to have a bank account here. We went to an indoor golfing thing, and he was asking so many questions about the bill and I forgot exactly specifically what it was, but I was just why are you asking so many questions?
Well, they don't tip in England. It's not a thing.
But it wasn't about tipping. It had to do something with his bank account. Or he had to pay a specific way, I think.
Yeah, so there's exchange rates and all those things and fees because all of his banks are in the UK. Another really annoying thing right now is that he doesn't have access to the US App Store. So if we want to order Chipotle or something on an app.
That's what it was. He couldn't get Venmo. He couldn't Venmo me.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Oh, it's so annoying because it's it's supposed to be David's night to pay. Don't have the App Store.
Sorry, honey.
I'm yeah, sure.
I'm just from London.
Yeah, I can't wait till we have that joint bank account so you can pay for the Chipotle. My gosh.
Oh, I love it.
He's I'll pay, but we're going to have to wait. And I'm nah, I got it.
Yeah.
So, but we're getting there.
Money bags Morgie over here.
Paying the Chipotle tab every time.
All right. So really the real reason I wanted to have you on is because you do a successful podcast and I wanted to steal all your tips. Any tips you got for me? This what not really the real reason.
No. You don't have any problem with being yourself. That's the main thing.
I actually have too much problem with that.
Do you?
I think so sometimes.
People listen to you to listen to you, especially in a podcast setting. There's 1.5 million podcasts out there, and I will say not everybody should have a podcast. Not everybody needs a podcast. Austin, I think you would be good at it, but people listen for you, for your perspective. It's the same thing on the morning show. It's the same thing, when you're doing your live shots. People listen to you because they like you. Yeah. So just be you.
You're killing it.
Killing it.
Morgie, anything else you want to get off your chest?
No. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Appreciate you, buddy. Follow me.
Oh yeah, we got to give Morgie a plug here. First off, listen to her on Q104.
Yeah.
And then
Morgan P Talks everywhere else.
Morgan P Talks.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, pal.
Nux?
Appreciate you. Nux, absolutely. And also the podcast.
Podcast Morgan's Pop Talks. That's what it is.
Spotify,
Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. All right, get out of here now.
Okay, bye.
All right.